Hello, my dear friend, and welcome to the Spiritually Engineered Podcast, where we take a deep dive into the human experience from a spiritual perspective. Come on in, and I invite you to stay. So, we have all these wonderful human experiences. In some all there for the learning and growing for us as a soul. And I want to talk a bit about the experiences of dating and get spiritual with you about dating. So for me, I recently just set on this endeavor to go on speed dates and also looking at singles events to mingle and to talk to, in my case, with the ladies. And I'm sure there'll be some guys I'll talk to and stuff like that in certain situations, have some conversations and whatnot. And why I bring this up, because this is something that has been a big thing for me for quite a while. It's been a while since I've personally been in a relationship, and deep down, it's something that I know I need and I crave. And I think a lot of us need and crave that as well too. That's why I say that, because it explains to me why there's a lot of frustration in the dating market because of that. Because people genuinely want something authentic and real and intimate and beautiful, pleasurable. And I say hell yes to all those sentiments. Yes. And so this episode, I want to give you my thought process a little bit into dating and whatnot. And I'm hoping by the end of this, I can help you feel more empowered. Whether or not you're someone that is dating or in a relationship, whatever your circumstance is, I'm hoping that there's something you can get from this episode, because I think there is. At least the way I look at it in my own search and what I've been doing is always something around every corner that I can learn, even if it's not directly related to me. Like, for instance, me diving into talking to people, connecting with people, and reading a book about polyamory, for example, which, if you don't know, polyamory literally translates as loving many, which is very different from polygamy, which is illegal, and it's like having more than one wife, right? That's not what it is. It's just having intimate relationships with more than one person. And I believe on that topic, both can thrive, both have a place. And it's not like one thing is greater or lesser than the other. They both are powerful teachers for people. And I think it's up to each individual to decide what works for them, which requires some deep dive inner search, which is part of the reason why I'm actually doing the dating. Aside from the fact that it's something I've been craving and I haven't dated in a long time. Wanted to use this experience here to learn more about myself, clarify in some ways too, what is it that I'm looking for? Because I've definitely been hit with expectations and these assumptions and ideas that society, people I've grown up with, that telling me that ought to be when it comes to relationships, when it's no one glove that fits. It's like no one size fits all glove for everybody. Everybody's unique, and they've got something going on that works for them. So if you're someone that might feel some type of way when I mention polyamory, for example, because I know it has for other people, I kindly invite you to take a step back from them, because it's from there I've learned about for myself, and even helped me as a reference for me to look at my own experiences and to see, oh, okay, I see what you're talking about. And even been able to relate in other ways too. From my other relationships, not necessarily the romantic ones. I think there's things to look at that can translate into different areas. So I know for me, when it comes to the idea of dating can feel very daunting and can feel a lot of stuff. But speaking for myself, because I know it starts from within, one of the things that really gets me is, I take myself too serious. And another thing that gets me all caught up and tripped up is expectation. When I start going to events where I know there's going to be women there, I might have ideas, or like wonder, like in my head, like, oh, I wonder if I'll find the one. Like, it'll feel so wishy-washy. Even as I'm sharing, I feel a little bit silly and a little embarrassed, because the thinking is just ridiculous. Because it's wishy-washy. It's kind of just like, oh, maybe I hope. Like, it's like this vibration of like low-key, like, oh, I'm not worthy but if I get it, I'll appreciate it. Like, kind of it's something about it that's just like feels shameful. But I want to say this though: everybody is deserving of a good partner. But it's also important to consider it takes two to tango. Everybody deserves a good partner, but then that person, like this, speaking for myself in this instance, like I have to do my part to contribute in a relationship with someone else. Right? Like it works both ways, type of thing. And yet, like I said, everyone's deserving of it. That's an important thing. And I say that from like a mindset perspective. And that's really some of the stuff that has come up for me in the past, and that I'm still working through, that of why I'm setting myself out to go on this endeavor of speed dating. To actually just feel more secure within myself, feel more, unfold more of my inner confidence. And not to mention, to be able to achieve all that, to make some mistakes, knowing that I'm going to make a fool out of myself. I might say something like, oh, I said that thing, and great, I'm going to make some mistakes, but I'm not saying that I'm going to be intentionally, like, I'm going to mess up. But it's like, as long as I'm doing the best I know how, and yet somehow I feel like I made a mistake after the fact, to give myself grace and to say that's okay. Like, I think the important thing is like as I'll say it again, like mistakes will be made, but as long as I'm doing my best, the best I know how, then it's okay. And so, like, using that opportunity to just help me better myself. And so, going back to the whole expectation thing, that's been a big killer for me. And it's also, I'm grateful for this one book that I read, that kind of highlighted a little bit into polyamory, that I share a little bit, although I'm not going to talk too much into this episode about it. There might be a future episode about that, but I think for me, like, what I appreciate about it is that it helped me to redefine assumptions that I've made about relating and relationships. And so for me, it's like, especially like thinking around like the one, right? I think there are plenty of people that are compatible with myself as an individual. Like, think about this for yourself. There are many compatible people out there for you. There isn't just one person that's everything. Because that's actually very restricting and very limiting. It's a lot of pressure there. Because what would happen if that person were to leave? They have freedom. Can they afford to leave? Again, I'm kind of diving into it, and I really shouldn't have, but like, there's a component of like freedom. For me, my understanding of personal freedom and autonomy that made me look at my concepts of the one in a way that's more healthier. Like, I know there are ones that I can mesh well with, and I can have something beautiful and great with. Everything, the good and the ugly. And I think even the ugly, the disagreements, like things like that, are very important. At least something that I'm working on considering, like, okay, can I spend a Tuesday night with this individual, kind of a thing, and not just go for like those peak experiences, because those can fade. And especially like if something long term, if I'm going to build something long term, I have to be careful with that. But right now, for me, in my speed dating endeavors, or just in dating in general, right, just going out and having dates, I'm working on just flowing with what's unfolding in the moment. Less projecting into the future. Less expectation, like, I want to find the one, I want to find my partner, and all this stuff. That, mind you, and I said this before, it's like, those are like symptoms for me when I'm taking myself too serious. Oh, I want a life partner to do this, blah, 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 blah. Now, I may not speak it in that way, but energetically, that's kind of the feeling behind it for me. So that's why it's like, I don't need to be taking myself too serious here. Especially because I'm on this endeavor where there's the possibility of inviting someone into my life. And there's some things that don't need to be like brought into that relationship. I don't need to bring that kind of, that pressure, you know? So that's something that I've been exploring, with an open mind. And it's like, you know what? My goal is just to make some connections. And looking at finding the one, quote unquote, let that be a natural byproduct. That's not the end of itself. That's not the end goal, believe it or not, for me. For me, it's just to connect, to give of myself to many women, respectfully. And of course, I'm practicing clear communication here. I'm not messing around or being manipulative or none of that stuff. No, I'm not doing any of that. I'm all about respect here. So it's like having these beautiful relating experiences, no attachments, no these expectations, letting all that crap out the window because it doesn't have a place. And just learning to just enjoy the company of the people that I'm with. In this case, the women that I'm dating. Like I said, because I get a lot of nervous myself around dating. And I want to heal a lot of that. I want to feel more relaxed. Because something I'm putting together is like, I don't have to prove myself. Especially like if I find someone that's really compatible with me, I don't have to prove myself. My last date that I've had is a good reminder. I don't have to prove myself. That led me to her and I dating for the time that we did. Like there's no proving. If I find myself having to prove myself, that's when a moment I need to take a step back and be like, yo, I need to check myself before I wreck myself. And quite frankly, the other person for that matter. And so I just had a recent experience where I just did like a one-speed dating event that was all facilitated by like a text message, someone kind of operating remotely. But it was structured in such a way where everybody was able to like understand the assignment, if you will, of like how much time they have, the breaks, and then who they can move to. They all the systems set up so that everyone has a smooth experience with this. Everyone can have a smooth dating experience. And so that's kind of where I'm at right now. Just kind of going into this and just let that stuff of like, because for me, I'm open to having, a good long-term relationship. I'm open to it. And I think with the right person, I'll definitely do it. Right? But it really is circumstantial and depends on who I'm with. While also being open and considerate of, there might be some people I might find and have something with, but for a season. And that's something else that I'm learning is like relationships dynamics are so people, circumstances, everything. There's a lot of change and people grow. And because of that, and that's why I'm kind of approaching this very differently. I'm having this different mindset of going into this dating where I feel a lot more better about myself than I would have before. Like I said, I'm grateful for the people that I've been meeting and events that I've been going to and just books I've been reading that really have helped put things in better perspective. And I think it's been like the right time in the right place. And I think the most important thing out of all of this, as I'm like working through this and uncovering more for myself, while I was attending these events, one of the big things out of all this that I think is super important and why it's been fulfilling for me has been to have fun in all this. Because like I said, if I'm like having these expectations and if I'm coming into an experience with expectations or like these assumptions, I set myself up to not have fun. And what's the point of experiencing life if I don't invite some fun into my life, So that's why I've been having a blast. I'm going to continue doing this to have more fun and sharing the fun with other women that I come across, And I think if more men and women can kind of practice at least some of the stuff that I've been talking about, in my opinion, into dating, I think the market will look really different. In my opinion, in my opinion, right? Take it with a grain of salt, right? I'm not here to try to prove anything, especially with the stuff that I said, like earlier. Uh, as far as just like this is all like just what I'm putting together so far. This is just like the raw, unedited of okay, where's Alvin at with dating? Huh? I'm curious. This is it so far. But there's a longer story to it, but definitely not for this episode. So, but that's just the thing. There is just to like have fun with the process, and I think when I'm having fun with it, why I think that's also important is because I think that can be very magnetic, and I think it has the power to attract someone who can join in the fun and can offer some of their fun that feels refreshing, and thus magnifying our capacity of having fun even greater. You know what I mean? It's kind of like if I work on just feeling okay with and being my own company with myself, working on that relationship with myself that's there for everybody, that everybody has a relationship with themselves. That to me leads to having beautiful relationships with other people. It's like I can't give to other people what I haven't put together, what I don't have within me. And like I said, I've done the work for a long time with myself, now integrating it all in these new opportunities, you know. And so I'll leave it there, my friend. If you made it to this part, hopefully we'll see. I may do more future episodes talking about more findings. Like I said, I feel like there's a good chance I will. And if you stick around, or appreciate if you do, and learn with me as I move along. We're all collectively moving along at our own pace. No one's behind or ahead in life. Anybody who says otherwise is a fool. Don't know any better. So, and wherever you are in your dating life as well too. Well, first I want to say if you're in a relationship with somebody, great, and I hope you guys are having something meaningful and beautiful. And if something's kind of going on, I recommend staying open to possibilities. Okay, what can we do about it? Well, how can we, kind of looking at like a teamwork effort type of thing, But in any case, I celebrate those who have someone or someones in their lives. You do you, boo boo. I celebrate that and I appreciate y'all. Because they serve as models, at least how I see it. And then for those like for myself, if you're single like me, I guess if there's any closing messages I can share here is that first of all, you are worthy. Let's start with the very important one there. And I do believe you can find someone out there if you genuinely want some connections. I genuinely believe there's someone for everyone, and there's someone there out for you. And I'll say there are many. Not to say you have to date many people or have to be in multiple relationships type of thing. Again, everybody to each their own. Everybody's got their cup of tea. Whatever works for them. It's whatever works, do it. But but to operate more out of abundance, there are a lot of options, and all it takes is to find one great option there, and boom. And not to treat it like as if like, I mean, yes, there are many possibilities. Let me put it that way. I don't want to say options because that sounds like we're not objects or not something like that. I want to clarify that. But like there are many possibilities to form a partnership. Let's say that, right? There's many possibilities, and the more I let go and enjoy the process, the easier it is for the universe to bring those possibilities in my life. Because when I'm chasing and expecting, I'm repelling, and that doesn't do anything. It just creates more misery, So that's why for me with this also dating experience, I'm just trying to approach this from like the inside out. And this is kind of what I've been putting together so far with all this, and I'm hoping to be an example of like dating doesn't have to be depressing or all of this, but rather an adventure and a beautiful way of a unique experience of self-discovery, while also discovering other people, their journeys, their purpose, their gifts, their warts, like all the things that makes them human, So in any case, for all those singles out there and those searching as well, I wish for you, that you find that you attract that for yourself. But I think it's important to remember, and don't forget that important relationship with the self, because that needs to be honored and taken care of, even in a companionship. That relationship, it's still there. It doesn't leave. It does not leave. It's always there. No matter who I'm with, I still have me, and I've got to take care of that relationship. If I don't, well, then it'll start affecting my partner. That's the way I see it thus far. So, anyway, nevertheless, have fun, relax. Like, I know for me, I'm going to go for a walk. Just to get into flow, into just doing the simple things, get to enjoying being out in nature, being present. And just treat, whether it's this or anything else in life, I always try to embrace life like an adventure. And when I've done that, it's been nothing but fulfillment, with the challenges along the way, but that's what has contributed to my own personal fulfillment. So in the name and spirit of fulfillment, I do look like a toast to yours and mine. And I wish you the best, my friend. And I appreciate if you made it to this far of the episode. And I wish you the best. And this has been another episode of the Spiritual Engineer Podcast. I'm your host, Alvin Cepeda, signing out. And as always, take care, my dear friend.